All right. Yeah, this is a Patreon request from Scott. It's been ages since we done Scott. Scott's one of the original requesters from the channel. But yeah, he sent this. And I might know about this. The one-eyed scout who liberated a whole town by himself. I don't know this story, but I think this might be the guy. I think he's a British soldier that he's actually Polish, I think. Or got like, yeah. But he's in the British Army, but he fought in like he fought in three major wars. Yeah, he lost his eye, and they said that he couldn't go to the front line with an eye patch, or he had to have a fake eye. And he was like, "All right, whatever. I got a fake eye." And then on the like taxi leaving the thing, took his eye out and put a patch on. And so I'm guessing it's got to be him, but I haven't heard this story. I've seen like Chris Williamson talk about him on Joe Rogan. Chris Williamson says this is his man crush. I think it's him anyway. It might be a completely different person, but yeah, the one-eyed scout who liberated a whole town by himself. Let's go.
Leo Major, the one-eyed scout who liberated a whole town by himself. World War II. In World War II, for the Canadian effort, one soldier stands out from all the rest. Leo Major.
So this isn't the guy then, because he definitely weren't Canadian. I'm sure he's Polish. But anyway, yeah, let's go.
He was a French-Canadian from Montreal, Canada. In 1940, at the age of 19, he joined the Le Régiment de la Chaudière of the Canadian Army. Their insignia underlines their fierce fighting reputation, consisting of 2 crossed Vickers machine guns with a beaver above supporting fleur-de-lis. Private Leo Major first saw action at D-Day in France, taking part in the Normandy landings on June 6, 1944. Straight away, he distinguished himself as a scout behind enemy lines by capturing a German communications half-track full of secret code books. He then forced the captured crew to drive the Hanomag towards friendly lines, but was fired upon with anti-tank guns by British and Canadian troops. Leo had to climb on top of the vehicle to get them to stop firing as they drove closer, and later remarked how happy he was that the British and Canadian soldiers didn't know how to shoot.
So he's kidnapped got a whole tank of enemy secrets, but stole it and drove. That's mental. Already, we're not even a minute and a half in, and this guy's crazy.
When the English officer asked Leo to hand over the Hanomag, Leo refused outright, stating that it was a Quebec man who captured it, and so it was handed over to the Chaudière Regiment. His war was nearly cut short when a few days later he was scouting ahead of his unit. Leo unexpectedly encountered a patrolling elite Waffen-SS unit. In the ensuing firefight, he managed to kill 4 of the enemy soldiers, but one of them, fatally wounded, managed to throw a phosphorus grenade, and Leo was hit, damaging his left eye badly. Leo was then sent to a field hospital for treatment. Leo had to wear an eye patch while his eye healed, and he remarked on how he looked like a pirate. Remarkably, he refused to be sent home, stating that he only needed one good eye to aim a rifle. Quickly, he returned to the front line and continued to act as a scout and sniper for his unit.
It's like the matey that Chris Williamson was on about. It is 2 different people, but wearing an eye patch makes you look, dangerous, I think. I don't know why they said, no, you can't have an eye patch, you got to have a fake eye. Like, someone with an eye patch, like he said, it's pirate vibe.
Shortly after returning to active service in October 1944, he was involved in the month-long Battle of the Scheldt in Holland, which involved much heavy fighting and several amphibious landings. One day during this prolonged battle, Leo's commanding officer had ordered him to find the 50 zombies who had gone missing on patrol earlier. Zombie was a slang term used by Canadian volunteers for unenthusiastic, inexperienced Canadian conscripts in the war. Leo was carrying out the reconnaissance by himself, as always wearing PT sneakers instead of heavy boots. He was deep behind enemy lines in the dark, in freezing cold rain, muttering to himself, "I am frozen and wet because of you, so you will pay." Drenched to the skin while not finding the zombies, he did come across a garrison of German regular troops, sleeping in trenches that they had been digging all day. Noticing a snoring German officer, Leo woke him up, pointing his Sten gun at him, and then motioned him to order his men to follow him.
That's embarrassing. A whole bunker full of people let a one-eyed man sneak up on them. Think of that. Think of that. When you're sitting there captured, you must be thinking...
One soldier raised his rifle and was shot dead by Leo, followed by 3 others who joined the firefight. After this, he shouted, "Achtung!" and "Handen hoch!" and the garrison quickly decided to surrender to him. He then single-handedly marched 93 German soldiers back to the Allied lines. But on the way there, they were attacked by Waffen-SS troops manning an artillery battery from a neighboring village, who were infuriated that their fellow countrymen were surrendering. This left a lasting impression on Leo. The Waffen-SS unit managed to kill and injure a number of the German prisoners before being driven off by an Allied Sherman tank. Leo then handed over 93 German prisoners to his speechless commander. For his act of bravery, Leo was awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal, which is the second highest award in the British and Commonwealth, the Victoria Cross being the only one higher. But surprisingly, he declined the medal, feeling the British commander, General Montgomery, who was going to present him with the award, was incompetent and therefore in no position to give him that medal. Then in February 1945, as his unit was fighting in the Rhineland in Germany, the Bren gun carrier he was traveling in hit a mine, wrecking the vehicle and killing all its occupants, except Leo.
This guy. But yeah, that shows how gangster as well. Because you got that, especially in the war where everyone's fighting. But if you got someone who's higher ranked, but hasn't actually earned that position, or hasn't actually been out fighting, doesn't know what you've been through, they just don't get, you like, yeah, the best display of that is Band of Brothers with David Schwimmer. How they still salute him, but they don't respect him. You should salute the badge, not the man.
He was severely injured, including 2 badly broken ankles, 4 ribs, and his back in 3 places. Leo again refused to be shipped back home, and after a short spell in a Belgian hospital, he returned to his unit in time for their final attack to clear Holland of the last of its German occupiers. So, on April 13, 1945, the Allies were preparing to attack the large Dutch town of Zwolle, but were unsure of the strength or deployment of the German forces in the town. That evening, Leo and his friend Corporal Willie Arsenault volunteered to carry out a recon of the area. The city was planned to be bombed by Allied artillery, and this is something Leo and Willie wanted to prevent. When the two approached the outskirts of the silent town, the Germans spotted Willie after his grenade bag made a rattling noise, and he was killed by enemy machine gun fire. Leo took 2 of them out, but the others fled in a vehicle. He then took his friend's Sten gun, an extra bag of grenades, then laid his lifeless body on the side. So enraged was Leo that he would go on a one-man rampage that lasted the whole night, using his submachine gun and bags full of grenades. He hijacked a nearby German scout car, disarming the driver and taking his MP-40, adding a 3rd submachine gun to his inventory. Leo made him drive to a hotel, then entered a bar. There he disarmed a German officer who could speak French to Leo, and he made him aware that the town was to be bombed by Canadian artillery, which would result in German military and civilian casualties. The officer understood, and in good faith, Leo handed him back his pistol, allowing him to drive off in the hopes that he would evacuate his troops rather than rally an attack. Leo moved around the town for a few hours in the dead of night, firing on any German units he came up against, throwing grenades and making as much noise around town as possible. His idea was to confuse the enemy into believing that they were under attack by a far larger Allied force storming the city. He proceeded in killing or capturing German defenders as he moved from street to street, using the local river and church as reference points so as not to get lost. Every time he had enough prisoners, normally between 8 to 10, he would march them back to the Allied lines and drop them off before returning to the...
How? How is he doing this? Although, even if they killed him, after all the carnage he's causing, going around firing on anyone he sees, grenading everything, and they finally stop it and go and see it, and they're like, holy shit, that's just one of them. That would definitely make you surrender to the army that's waiting outside if you think, Jesus, this is just one of them. But he's literally like Rambo. He's like the bit in the action films where there's 1,000 people shooting at one person and they can't hit him, but he manages to hit. He's literally that guy. He's John Wick. He's just John Wick in Nazis. All in trainers. The fact they keep putting the trainers is just great. A little reminder that he's doing all of this in trainers.
To carry on his one-man assault. He is reckoned to have done this around 10 times. 4 times in the night he had to force his way into civilian houses to rest. Although terrified by his initial appearance, once they understood he was Canadian, they looked after Leo. During his rampage, he also attacked and set light to the Gestapo headquarters, further adding to the confusion. Then, finding the SS headquarters, he engaged in a firefight, killing 4 SS officers inside. Then, later, Leo came across a group of townsmen by chance. This included a local policeman by the name of Frit Kuiper. All of these men were secretly members of the Dutch resistance. Leo then explained to them that the town was liberated. Then the group went on to take the town hall and bring the civilians out onto the streets. By 4:30 a.m., the German garrison had fled the town, and Leo had single-handedly liberated Zwolle. Leo retrieved his friend Willie Arsenal's body and returned to his unit, who had yet to advance into the town. On that morning of April 14th, the Allied forces entered the town without a shot being fired and without the loss of civilian life from the planned bombardment, due to...
They must have been walking through going, where is everyone? And then they get all the way in, and he's just in there chilling. All right, boys, I've done it last night. Was I meant to wait for you?
Leo's outstanding bravery the previous night. For his heroism above and beyond the call of duty, he was again awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal, and this time he accepted it. After the war, Leo left the army and returned to civilian life to resume his old job as a pipe fitter. With the start of the Korean War in 1950, the Canadian Army joined the United Nations forces in fighting the Communist Chinese and North Korean invasion of South Korea. Leo, though only 29 years old, was seen as a veteran with a special skill set and was recruited to rejoin the army and become a member of a special scout and sniper team. Then, in November 1951, the Communists attempted to take some strategic important high ground just 40 miles away from Seoul, the South Korean capital. The fighting was based around the vitally important Hill 355, nicknamed Little Gibraltar, and Hill 277. Chinese troops had captured it from the Americans, and Leo was to recapture and hold the hill. The fighting raged for days, and the Canadian commander, Lieutenant Colonel Jacques Dextraz, declared, "In the event the battalion is attacked, there will be no withdrawal, no platoons overrun, and no panics." During the battle, Leo commanded a unit of around 18 men, repelling whole Chinese divisions while enduring heavy artillery and mortar barrages for 3 days.
Why? Why is everyone sending so many troops? When Korea started kicking off, they should have gone, Leo, you got this, mate. Go over there by yourself, sort it out. Come on. You know what you can do. Should have just sent Leo. No point sending him with 18 men. They're all just going to get killed, and Leo's going to have to do it all by himself.
Declared, "In the event the battalion is attacked, there will be no withdrawal, no platoons overrun, and no panics." During the battle, Leo commanded a unit of around 18 men, repelling whole Chinese divisions while enduring heavy artillery and mortar barrages for 3 days. Even though Leo had been ordered to retreat when the Chinese divisions counterattacked, he refused. Instead, he demanded that the commander of the mortar platoon, Captain Charlie Forbes, rain mortar fire on the enemy. The mortar fire was so close to Leo's position that the commander could hear the bombs explode when Leo spoke on his radio. And it was so intense that the mortar barrels warped from their rate of fire. For his valor and leadership under fire, Leo was awarded another Distinguished Conduct Medal for capturing and holding the Key Hill. Leo was the only Canadian to win the Distinguished Conduct Medal in 2 separate wars. He lived a quiet life afterwards and in 2008, at the age of 87, passed away, having been married for 57 years and having 4 children.
That's good to know, because you hear it a lot with with the Nazi, because a lot of the Nazis fled before Germany fell, and you hear about all the people that done horrendous things, like Nazis that did horrendous things, all died in their late 80s on a beach somewhere. So I'm glad that he had that life too, someone from the other side. But yeah, Jesus. I was thinking as well, when he goes back to being a pipe fitter and they're all the boys around talking shit, he can't even join in. Like, if everyone's saying, "Oh, I was out the other night, someone said this and knocked him out." If he joined in with any of his stories, nobody would ever believe him in a million years. However, he didn't get the whatever it is, the Victorian Cross, the Victoria Cross, is it? The, the highest one. However, he didn't get that. But yeah, so he land got to Germany, took a took a load of secrets off of a load of Germans, got the tank, drove it towards the Allied forces. So they shot upon him. He had to get out and go, "Whoa, guys, it's me." I can't even. Yeah, that was mad. It's a different guy. The guy that I was talking about is older. He fought in the war before the First World War. He fought whatever that big major war was before the First World War. He fought in the First World War and then he fought in the Second World War. I think he was older as well, and he still went to the front line. But just the same as that guy, just crazy, but somehow survived despite doing what they did. The whole like, I can kind of see what he was doing. If he's got a bag of grenades and he's going around, he can make it seem like there's a lot going on and confuse people. But how long do you think you could get away with that? But he just thought, well, I'm just going to just do it until I don't. And then he ends up liberating the whole thing. Also, he hijacked a German Nazi officer's car, took him back to a bar, took the people hostage in there, disarmed everyone, rearmed him, let him go. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, the whole Korea thing, they should have just sent him. They should have looked at his record and just gone, "Go on, Leo, this is you, mate." But the fact he only got 1 medal, that's crazy too. But yeah, that was a great video. Great video. I also like that he kept it for his, when he got back with the secrets, a high up British officer tried to take it off him and he was like, "Nah." Because yeah, it's right. They would have just said, "Look what we found." He'd have just been forgot about. He's like, "Nah, I'm giving it back to my people, so they get the credit." But yeah, that's fire. But yeah, that's reaction. Sweet.